Hey guys, it's Tomi from Good to Meet Ya. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy you're here and I hope you're having a great day. Over these past couple of years, I think since 2020 really, I've read over 100 books each year. And if you had told me that even like a year or two before 2020, I would have been shocked because I didn't read at all. I grew up reading. I was a bookworm definitely in school, like all through high school. I remember my algebra teachers having to pull my Twilight book for me in class so I could pay attention. But once I got to college and grad school, I really just stopped reading. I really just stopped reading for fun. I got so bogged down with all the schoolwork and all of it, and I think I just got to a point where I'm like, this is not fun anymore. And then the pandemic hit in 2020, and I realized I had no hobbies that weren't screen related. Obviously, working as a content creator, it's pretty much screen focused. Loved going to the movies, loved watching little like reality TV shows with my friends, playing games. But I really wanted to have something that was more of like a quiet time that could turn my brain off. And I was like, let me get back into reading. And it was the best decision I could have made. And since then, I've had a lot of people ask me, Tomi, how do you do it? How do you find your time to be able to read over 100 books? Do you have a job? Do you have a life? And the answer is no, I have neither of those things. I like to consider myself something like a brown bear, and I hibernate in the winter, but instead of it being like a shit ton of salmon, it's a bunch of smutty books, and I just hole up for the winter. I'm totally joking. Reading is part of my job in the sense that I can make lifestyle content about my favorite books and sharing that with you guys, which I love to do. But also, even before that, when I was more focused on just like beauty and fashion, I did find myself still trying to make time to read every day because it was important to me. And I just considered it my main hobby. Before I jump into all these tips, I do want you to remember that this is not a competition. This is not really necessarily to help you read more so you can like have those bragging numbers. It's probably more helpful for those who have said, I have a goal of reading more this year and I want to make sure I'm making the actionable steps to make that happen. Everyone's on their own journey and you shouldn't compare yourself to people who are, because there are people on TikTok who read 500 a year, 1,000 a year, crazy numbers that I could never even imagine getting to. And these are people with jobs, these are people with children, all of this stuff. But again, when you prioritize things that are important to you, you'll be amazed at what can happen. But in addition to that, I do have some wonderful tips to make sure that you hit your reading goal this year. So, first of all, we're going to work with the arbitrary number of 12 because I do believe as an adult, with no other types of, hindrances, neurodivergence wise, what have you, mental capabilities, I believe you should be able to read 12 books a year. One book a month. I don't think that's too difficult, especially when you have sometimes a little vacation here and there, have a little extra time. All books don't have to be like 500 and plus pages, they can be shorter. And the same times that you are scrolling through your phone, watching like mindless stuff, you could be reading. And you'll find once you kind of figure out those little pockets of time which work better for you, it'll be easier. But yes, let's just say the arbitrary number of 12 throughout this video. It can be scary to say 12 books if you're not someone who's like read any. I get that. Like for me, obviously it's not as much, but if you're starting off, that can be huge. So instead, I suggest divvying it up into like bite-sized pieces. Choose to read either a chapter a night, 50 pages a night, something like that. When I first started getting back into reading, I decided to do 50 pages at night. These were books that were kind of like larger in text. If it's some of like the Brandon Sandersons that I've read, that would absolutely be insane. I would not be able to do that. But I did 50 pages a night, and I would do that at the end in getting in bed, part of my nighttime routine. And I would put my phone down, set the alarm so that I was not allowed to pick up my phone again in bed because I had a really bad issue with scrolling. And of course, the blue light and all this stuff like would just keep me up and keep my mind spiraling. So reading at night was super important for me to have in my routine. So doing that and doing the 50 pages really helped me know that I had like a set number to stick with. And of course, I gave myself grace if there were nights that I was a little bit more tired and I wanted to go to bed early. Sure, I would read less than that, but that was kind of the number that I went with. It can be a chapter, 50 pages, however many pages, and do that. And then each night, you'll just see that it gets easier and easier to complete those books that you have on hand. Next, I'm going to challenge you, do something a little bit crazy. Read something that you actually like to read. I know. Shocking. And I'm saying this like in a joking manner, but you would really think that there's someone out there with a weapon to your head saying you must read a self-help book or a financial guide to retirement at 50 for anyone out there as an adult. Like once you get past 25, you're not allowed to pick up a book that is fun anymore. I don't know where we got into that society. I've actually been reading a lot of articles recently that men don't even like to read fiction books for a very similar vein and reason. But we're allowed to have fun. And reading is a great way to do that. It's a great escape. It's a great way to learn things that you don't even have to be from a nonfiction standpoint. It could be fiction. Regardless, even if you do enjoy nonfiction, read something that you enjoy. Don't feel like you have to read something because everyone else is reading it. Right now, books that are trending for a lot of young women, it's like A Fourth Wing, an ACOTAR by Sarah J. Maas. A lot of Freedom McFadden stuff on TikTok is going wild. It's like thrillers from Kindle Unlimited. You don't have to do that. You can choose whatever you want, whatever you feel comfortable with. And once you stop reading books that you think you should be reading, you're reading books that you enjoy, then you're flying through it because you're like, I'm eating the story up and I want to get to the end. So you might be so new to reading that you are asking yourself, I don't even know where to start with that. Like, what do I even enjoy? And it's a good question. The biggest tip I give to people when they're starting this reading journey is I ask them, what are their favorite TV shows? What are your favorite movies? If you did read as a child, what kind of books did you like to read then? If you're someone that likes the TV show Dark Matter or Severance, one, Dark Matter is based off of a book, so you can start there. Then try books by Blake Crouch because he does a lot of like easy sci-fi books that are like fun to digest. Perhaps an Andy Weir, who is the author of The Martian, which became a very hit movie, and a wonderful book called Project Hail Mary that I am shocked that still has not been adapted yet because I think it's better than The Martian, but that's just me. But some examples there that you can always find some sort of book that relates to a type of movie or TV show that you like to watch. And that will help you get started on what genre to start with when it comes to books. There are different ways, and plenty of people on the internet who have 100% made a book list that are related to a song or an artist or something like that. Basically draw from whatever you like in every other part of your life to help you decide what types of books to read. And I will make sure to actually put down below some starter books for a few different genres to help you if you are just starting the journey. So now you have to figure out when you want to read. It could be before you start your workday or on your lunch break. I would highly suggest reading right before bed. I think it's been pretty well researched now that like phone usage right before you fall asleep is a horrible thing for you. And I was definitely that person who would get into a doom scroll and stuck in like a TikTok vortex where I couldn't pull myself away. And then I'd find out it's 1 a.m. And then I'm like, wow, why am I so tired? So once I started doing like reading as my last thing of the night, it really helped me kind of like slow down, make sure my mind's not racing a bunch, because with the ADHD, it will happen. And I liked having the books to kind of keep me at peace. So yeah, just keep that in mind for your new goal of reading. Once you nail down more of the specifics and the steps of how you're going to do this, you're going to be way more successful. Okay, so now you've got your goals in place. You're doing a little bit of reading every night. You know the genre that you like. You've decided to find books that you really enjoy, so you find that you're flying through them. But now you're like, crap, the budget that I allotted to movies or other hobbies that I may have had on the weekend is now going to books, and it keeps climbing. Well, don't I have the best news for you? There's a little something called the public library, and it slaps, let me tell you. I don't know if this is true for like every branch out there in America now, but at least for ours specifically, they don't have late fees anymore. They did some sort of research long ago where they found out that people who really love reading and love to use the library as patrons are pretty good at bringing their books back, and it's like more work for them to have late fees in place. So if that's something that's kind of been like stopping you of, oh no, I don't want to be like tied to having to bring my book back. Now there are still due dates that you should be bringing them back, and you shouldn't abuse that system because the library is probably the number one government system that we have in place that works beautifully. So please go support your local public libraries. But it's a wonderful resource that's there with all these free books. Some places that they're free if you just go and sign up using your like address. Some it's like $20, but it's for the year or for 5 years, so it's not even an issue. And then there's free apps called Libby that you can use your library card with, and then you can get ebooks. And also an app called Hoopla, which is the same thing. You can get ebooks, but it also has audiobooks and movies on there too for free. And then, of course, obviously the library locations have the physical books that you can go and check out. It was very quickly into my reading journey that I was put on a book buying ban from my husband because he was like, we live in an apartment. Where are all these books going? And to that, I told him they can go anywhere if you just believe. But he didn't really like that line of thought. So library it was. which I can definitely say it was better for my wallet. And until I'm able to build that dream home library with the rolling ladder, we've all thought of it. We've all thought of it. Belle, you are our inspiration forever. Until that moment happens, library it is, and I'm very, very happy with that. You can also add a resource called Kindle Unlimited, where you can pay $15 a month, and it's access to a library with thousands of book titles. Lots of indie authors, but there's also a lot of classics on there too that you can get. For the most part, a lot of your Kindle Unlimited books, I say, are kind of like popcorn books, where just because they're not like the highest level of literature doesn't mean they're not entertaining or good. If you are someone who enjoys fantasy or romance, and I would even say if you're starting off with thrillers, I would highly recommend, because there's a lot of stuff to work with there. If it's any of the other genres, I've heard that it's not as substantial, where you can use it for a couple of months, but you're probably not going to be a long time subscriber. Since I've used it, I think I got it in like 2021. I haven't looked back because it does seem to always have something for me, because I am a fantasy and romance reader. But I always start with the library first and then go Kindle Limited and everything else. I kind of just touched on this with the library resources, but you can 100% not be restricted to a physical book. There are ebooks available for you with the Kindles. You can read them on your phone. I don't recommend it because then your eyes are kind of squinting a lot, but it is an option. And the Kindle app is free, so you can go from there. Or you can listen to an audiobook, because yes, listening to an audiobook does count as reading. And I feel like only haters will tell you otherwise. The people who you see with some large like book reading numbers, I'm talking like 150 plus, those are your heavy audiobook listeners, because they're listening on their commute to work, they're listening while they're working out, they're listening while they're doing chores, and more props to them for sure. I think the reason why I don't listen to more audiobooks is because it really depends on the narrator, and I would hate sometimes to have an experience where I listen to the book and that's the reason why I don't enjoy it, is because of who the narrator was for that specific title. So now what I do is I either wait for someone to tell me, oh, this was a really good audiobook that you should try, or I will only use it for celebrity memoirs, because a lot of those are read by the celebrity author themselves. And there have been times when usually I'm listening to a Drake, a Beyonce, an ASAP Ferg when I'm working out and I need a little like oomph to my steps. But there are times when I'm so engrossed in a book that I'm like, I need the audio version immediately, so that I can get all of this done and I just can't put a book down. So I love the trifecta of having a physical to read it when it's cozy, my Kindle for on the go, and then having the audiobook whenever I'm working out or in the car. That's when you know you're in deep. And I guarantee you, as you start this reading journey, there will be a time when you get to that place and I want you to tell me, and I'll be like, I'm so proud of you. Look how far you've come. So if you are a new reader, welcome to the gang. We love to have you here. I'm continuously thankful for TikTok and the resurgence that it's had with books and reading in the library. And I know that there's some people who want to gatekeep books for some reason. Didn't really know that was a thing, but I'm very thankful for it. I'm sure bookstores are very thankful for it. I know Barnes & Noble is actually on their knees every night praying and saying, thank you, God, to TikTok for the resurgence, because without them, it would probably be very bleak for the bookstore landscape within the next 5 years. If you thought this video was helpful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel where I share more book things throughout the year. What are some tips or hacks that you have for reading more throughout the year? I would love to know in the comments below. And I look forward to you all crushing your reading goals in 2025, because I'm watching you. No, really, I'm like, go bestie, go. Make sure to follow me on Instagram where you can see what I'm currently reading. And I also have a broadcast channel that's just for people who love romance books, that you can join a little book club, and we meet once a month to discuss a book and share our little thoughts. We do buddy reads so everyone can share their comments as they're reading the book. It's been a lot of fun and I'm excited to keep it going. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.